Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Bastida with another edition of American Companies Give Back. And this time around, we're really fortunate to be able to connect with the CEO of Soles for Souls. His name is Buddy Teaster. Tell us about this amazing organization, Buddy.
Ken, thanks so much for the opportunity to talk with you and really look forward to telling you more about Soles for Souls. Soles for Souls has been around since 2006. And in that time, we have collected and distributed about 40 million pairs of shoes and about 15 million pieces of apparel. So that's sort of the what that we do. The why we do it is to create opportunity for people. So there are two ways that we do that. So we collect new and used. So I'll talk about used first because that comes from us, right? That's in our closets. So that's everything from one person with one pair of shoes, and they might go to Zappos.com, print out a label. Zappos will pay for the shipping. They're an amazing partner. Then we also have corporate partnerships on the used side, like DSW, who allow their customers to drop off their shoes in the stores. And over the last 3 years, their customers have donated 3 million pairs of shoes, right? So mind-blowing. And if you make it easy, that's what people will do. We also think about it as a way to protect the environment. Still, an overwhelming percentage of shoes and clothes in this country still go in the landfill, which is a tragedy on multiple levels. On the new side, we work with companies who have excess inventory, returns, those sorts of things that aren't really commercially valuable, but still have a tremendous amount of life. And then they'll donate those to us, and that usually comes from a warehouse. So it's a very different process, but then we put all the shoes together and then send them back out. Some we give away for free to people in need, and all the used and some of the new we sell to people in the developing world, and they resell that as a way to create a small business or a job so they can have an income for their family.
How much of what you guys do is helping other people help themselves?
Yeah, it's that we think longer term, that's the biggest, most impact that Soles for Souls can have with our partners. But it's all these sort of, supply chain, it might be financial, with all these barriers that they can't overcome on their own. And so a lot of what we've been able to do is, how do you take all those barriers down? How do you go right from your closet to a woman who's going to be selling on the streets in Haiti, for example? If you just give people access to opportunity and then a little bit of a push of like, hey, here's some good product that you can sell, it's sometimes just rocket fuel.
I think a lot of people might be surprised that there's a need here in our own country, and a lot of different groups of people who sort of slip through the cracks don't have a decent pair of shoes. How is this working for those folks here in the USA?
Over the last year or so, we have really become more aware of how many homeless kids there are in the US, which is 1.5 million in the public school system, right? That's a tragedy. Footlocker, we started talking to them earlier this spring, and they donated 15,000 pairs of shoes, which this week we've begun to get to school systems who can then distribute them to the kids who need them the most. We did some, I think, important work around frontline workers and getting them shoes during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we worked with Reebok and Crocs and some other great companies. But most of the companies I mentioned are sort of more household name, big companies, right? But our bread and butter is not those. It's the thousands, tens of thousands of individuals who are donating shoes, and lots of small companies. So Whenever Got Junk has delivery trucks and warehouses, right? Which are two things really important to Soles for Souls, because we're a lot in the logistics business. And so to have a partner who will say, hey, we can make our trucks available sometimes, we can make storage space available sometimes. And 1-800-GOT Junk is a great example of that kind of partnership. But when we think about the impact of 40 million pairs of shoes, whether that's a kid who gets a new pair, a parent who doesn't have to buy a new pair for a kid, or someone who's turned that into literally housing, food, and education for their families. And that partnership is only possible because those companies said, we think this is important. We need a partner to help us distribute them. But without them saying it's important and providing the product, there's not nearly as much we can do.
It's not just shoes. What other items are you able to pass along to people?
So over the last few years, we've really gotten more into apparel. The economics are different. The need is different, but the market is so much bigger, and that's a lot of what winds up in the trash. So keeping that out of landfills is really important for us. And things like winter coats from Macy's, that stuff is gold. That is such a need, and they are brand new coats. These aren't returns or seconds. These are the same things that you find in the department stores. They'll donate, already begun, 25 to 35,000 winter coats that we'll distribute for free around the US. So when you go into a shelter in Wisconsin and you can give a family of 4 brand new winter coats, it is breathtaking how important that is to them financially, and just knowing that somebody cares about them. So apparel has become a much more important part of what we do.
As you mentioned earlier, none of this is possible without for-profit companies coming in and giving you guys a helping hand. In some cases, just outright giving you the merchandise. What's the net effect that having them on board brings you, but also what it gives them back?
Well, like there's just a flat without the corporate partnerships that we have in the U.S. and around the world. Like SOLES4SOULS doesn't exist. There's just no way. So it's that foundational for us. The list of companies that we have a chance to work with is sort of top shelf. So if they can find a partner who can help that get into the hands of the people who really need it, that makes them, their employees, and their customers feel better too.
Most of us go about our daily lives. We don't think too much about our shoes. You put them on in the morning and that's pretty much it. It's one of those items that, I think if you have them and they fit and they feel good, it's kind of taken for granted every single day. Yeah. You run into a lot of people, though, who are not in that situation, are they?
Yeah, I'm sort of a word guy. I like that. And very early on at SOLES4SOULS, I recognize when you can walk into your closet and say, which pair of shoes I'm going to wear today, that puts you in a whole different category, right? There are people who don't have shoes at all. And for them, that puts them at higher risk of disease and injury. So that's an obvious thing. But it's also, sometimes you're not able to work. We have, especially in the US, we have lots of men who want to work but don't have the right kind of shoes, for example, to pick up day jobs, which sometimes is the way out of poverty for them. But it's also increasingly we recognize it's about self-esteem and confidence, all these other intangible things. So it's from the very I get it, if I don't have shoes, I could hurt my feet, to how does it make you feel and what does that make possible? And shoes play, certainly I wasn't in the shoe business before I came here, and I have a profoundly different understanding of how important that can be now.
SOLES4SOULS. What a great name, right? What a great company. Want to thank the CEO, Buddy Teaster, for joining us this time around. You can get involved as a volunteer there as well, or you can contact us. And if you like what you saw, get a hold of us at BaysideEntertainment.com and then click on the contact links. For American Companies Give Back, I'm Ken Bastida, and we'll see you next time.